Welcome back. Really great to be here with you again today. I'm Nadine Blaney from AusBiz for this virtual investor conference. The next presentation is coming from 4DMedical. It's a medical technology company, so medtech, good buzzword there, aiming to deliver the global gold standard in respiratory diagnostics for all lung disorders. That includes coronavirus, asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, cystic fibrosis, and cancer. The unique 4DMedical technology accurately and quickly scans lung function as the patient breathes to provide sensitive early diagnostics and to monitor changes over time. Presenting today is Managing Director and CEO of 4DMedical, Andreas Flores. And remember as well, if you have any questions for Andreas, you can put them into the Q&A section at the bottom of the screen. You just click on the button, and we will endeavor to get to as many of those questions as possible at the end of this presentation. So Andreas, we're looking forward to hearing your presentation. Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks, Nadine. So really incredibly excited. I'm feeling great about today's presentation, to be able to share with all of you some of the fantastic progress that 4DMedical has made over the course of the last year and more specifically the last quarter. And it's also particularly exciting as we come up to that 12-month anniversary of the IPO for the company. And for those of you who haven't heard me speak before, I'll just take this opportunity just to to reintroduce myself as the founder, inventor of 4DMedical technology, and CEO and managing director of the company. The size of the opportunity in front of 4DMedical is massive, and you can see here that we've split it up based on the $31 billion opportunity globally, or the $40 billion Aussie global opportunity, split up by products that we are competing with, and we will be bringing into the market products that can compete for and win every single sector of this. So that means that the entire $31 billion here is US is an addressable target market for our products. Just really, we have plenty of information here, on this deck, which is being lodged with the ASX and around in a number of other places that. You can see this information, looking at spirometry, PFT, X-ray, CT, and nuclear medicine. But for the purpose of meeting the timeline today, I'm just going to skip through to talk and introduce you to XV technology. So you can see here how 4DMedical got its name. We have this, four-dimensional scan, so the 3 dimensions of the lung, plus the fourth dimension being that of time, or each and every phase of the breath. And our technology is uniquely able to measure each point of color that you see in this 4-dimensional map is a measurement of the airflow throughout the lung, in that part of the lung, and during that phase of the breath. So, really sees us having the best features of all of those existing products that we just briefly touched on before: functional insight of spirometry, dose and availability comparable to X-ray, because of course, we do deliver this technology using existing X-ray equipment and the high resolution, high detailed nature of a CT scan. And here you see really just in 10 seconds why doctors all around the world, every doctor that we talk to pitching the capability of XV technology is excited by it, because you can see, in just a moment, in the time that it takes someone to take a breath, you can see everything that's happening in a subject's lung. We can see that in healthy patients, the lung ventilation is nice and uniform, and in subjects with lung disease, that there is, we have defects such as this, so in a region where air is not reaching in during the breath, a subtle defect up here, or a filling defect where air is reaching during some parts of the breath but not others, and compensation where air is being pushed across from one side of the lung, from one lung across to the other side in the other lung. Doctors see that, they instantly get it, and they want to participate. So, and as I said, this builds a combination of hello. I think I've had a technological mishap here. Hopefully you can still hear me.
Yeah, we can still see you and hear you. So if you just want to pick it up where you left it off.
Great. Okay, so I believe I have to restart my screen share. Go to here. So the technology, offers, incredible, strong value proposition across a whole range of areas, which is well summarized by, offering all the capabilities of those existing products, seamlessly integrates with radiology work streams, can be integrated quickly into a hospital, as we use existing equipment, existing workflows, and, sticks by the 4DMedical, concepts, mantra of, the lowest radiation dose and, no contrast agents delivered to the patient. So really compelling value proposition to our customers. And you don't have to just take it from me. We have great opinion leaders who, in growing numbers across Australia and the United States, who are really excited by the technology and what it has to offer. As I said, we're coming up to our 12-month anniversary on the IPO, and while of course there are a number of milestones that we've achieved in the last couple of years, in the last 12 months, we really have had incredible success. IPO in August, TGA, on the back of FDA clearance in May, TGA clearance, so Australian clearance in September, approved by Oz Industry for eligibility for 43.5% of our eligible overseas expenditure, partnership with University of Miami, patients starting in Australia, pilot starting in the United States, $28.9 million grant, $46 million placement, streamline access to Department of Veterans Affairs, first clinical trial ahead of schedule for our VQ product, and our clinical trials progressing, including our XV clinical trial at Johns Hopkins, bringing us to 8 clinical trials. So really has been a very busy year. We're very proud of the successes that we've achieved. Part of the next year will be our more clarity, more visibility on our product pipeline. And, we have a number of principles that are driving that product pipeline. Once again, I seem to have lost the video, but a number of principles share, on that product pipeline, non-invasive, accessible, affordable, giving us the broadest reach, which of course also translates to the best return on investment to our shareholders. And that has us bringing out behind our XV LVAS products, 2 products which we're very excited bring significant value by layering on top of our XV, which is VQ, which adds the capability not just to measure airflow in the lungs, but also blood flow, and the XV scanner, which will initially allow doctors the choice of another hardware platform to do XV scans, or potentially also the capacity over time to still do VQ scans as well. And here you see more detail on those products. VQ is particularly exciting. We keep getting stronger and stronger feedback from potential customers in that it'll be a test that competes directly with nuclear VQ scan, which, a scan price in the United States in excess of $1,500. It'll however have no contrast agent, reduces patient harm, increases convenience dramatically for the doctors, allowing us to diagnose pulmonary embolism and pulmonary hypertension. Also, as I said, the world's first dedicated lung function scanner in our XVD product, leveraging existing market take-up of XV, widening that market opportunity for XV technology. Here you see the release timelines. You can see that these are very similar to materials currently that we've been describing publicly for some time. However, we are starting to think that these targets could perhaps be exceeded. And, we're hoping to be able to come back to the market. And in fact, after a year, there's no sign of slippage, and we're particularly excited that we may well be able to do better than this as we progress. However, I think probably for those of you checking in on a company update, probably most excited to hear about this, our commercialization strategy and how it's progressing. I'll start with just reminding everyone of the fundamentals of the two key pillars that of our commercialization strategy, our clinical trials, whereby, as when pretty much everyone does clinical trials, it's about having researchers conduct the most tightly controlled scientific studies. 4DMedical is privileged to have the most eminent researchers at the leading medical institutes doing those studies. And we expect those outcomes to be those same doctors publishing medical manuscripts, and in some ways more exciting, going on to conferences where they have the pulpit to talk about the technology and their experience with it, and just how much, what opportunities there are. Clinical pilots still work to deliver a very similar thing, to bring the technology to become more accessible to potential customers, but they do so in a very different way. It is GPs, respiratory specialists, and other doctors treating patients in real-world conditions. So real-world use of the technology, assessing real-world patients, and delivering clinical familiarization with those doctors for the technology, as well as allowing those potential customers, those folks to turn to take the next step and being actual paying customers for the product after their pilot completes. These each have their own timelines, and I won't go through these in real detail, but just to go down to the endpoints being, in clinical trials, peer-reviewed scientific papers, medical conference presentations to build awareness, and in clinical pilots, scan reports, real-world use of the technology, outlining to those sites that are doing the pilot and others the operational, clinical, and financial benefits, leading to the outcome of these sites signing up to becoming paying customers. I talked just for a few moments on our clinical trial pipeline. As I've been saying, we have the most eminent sites on the planet using our technology. It's incredibly exciting. Cleveland Clinic, Duke, Vanderbilt, where we're doing our veteran study, Johns Hopkins, where we're doing both COPD, the third biggest killer in the world, and pediatric cystic fibrosis, OHSU, University of Miami, where we're doing both VQ and XV scans. So really incredibly exciting pipeline. And, to have the folks, for example, two highlights, Johns Hopkins, the #1 research hospital on the planet, researching our technology, and the veteran study at Vanderbilt, which really will be very supportive of expanding taking our technology to the VA, to the Department of Veterans Affairs and the Department of Defense. When we look now at how are our pilots progressing, we're really excited. The pilot progress is quite material. You can see now here in really significant detail that progress. And this has all happened from a standing start. As we completed the IPO, we did not have an Australian sales team. We've built this Australian sales team from the ground up, and that sales team has delivered this pipeline. It's incredibly exciting. We have 4 pilots in the agreement negotiation stage, and a 5th one, which the pilot is in post-reporting. The results from that pilot have been incredibly exciting. I can give you just a few highlights. 89% of the doctors of the scans, were reported back from doctors as being clinically useful, really helping that patient with improved outcomes, better diagnosis. And 100% of patients surveyed in that study said that they found the scans to be useful for them to manage their own health. So really exciting outcomes from that pilot. In the United States, we've had a little bit more of a head start, and here you can see we've separated a little bit more granularity into the Veterans Affairs Network and the civilian hospital network. Here, the rest of the country, really progressing very well with pilot studies on both the East and West Coast. and a really significant number of opportunities into that funnel, that sales funnel, that pilot opportunity. Also, just as I finish up, we have a couple of case studies here, examples where individual patients, and both these studies come from our Victorian pilot, and these are both really clear examples of where patients' lives have been positively impacted by seeing the evidence of, learning exactly what their health is from their scan in a way that they can understand it as patients, and also really to help inform their doctors. So here we have a subject with silicosis. They are, trying to understand why they have trouble sleeping on their right-hand side. Is it a heart problem? Is it related to other matters, perhaps employment related? But you can see in the scan, the right lung is red, the left lung is blue. So the right lung is just not breathing. And, that's really given them and their doctor clarity. It shows them that, where the condition is focused, allows the treatment to be, to progress, really clear, aggressive treatment, so they can have the best chance for recovery. Here, this example is a little bit different, and perhaps different to what we might have thought or others might have thought. I'll just try to very quickly show you on the scan. If we have a look, my mouse is stuck. If you look at this CT scan here, so this is the CT, this area, and where my mouse is, there's in the CT scan, this dark area is what the lungs look like, and there's a circle here where you can see that looks like the lung is missing in that circular region. That's the hernia. That's where tissue is pushed up into the abdomen to where the lung should be. Now, of course, we know that if the lung has been pushed out of that area, it won't breathe. That area can't breathe. It's not lung. However, you would expect that this area here, it's nice and dark, it's filled with air. You would expect that to be breathing. However, we can see quite clearly in this scan that that whole region of the lung is deep red. It's not ventilating. That part of the lung is not breathing, so gas exchange isn't happening there. Information that surprised the treating team indicates that this hernia is causing much more difficulty for these patients' lungs than one might have expected. Makes it really nice and clear to the treating team, and allows that patient's healthcare to progress, really very effectively. So, really been, as I said, excited to share our progress with all of you. I feel really can feel the traction under the tires at 4DMedical, under our feet as things accelerate, and looking forward to answering any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Andrea. So we'll get to questions right away. This one's coming from Mohammed. He says, how does reimbursement approval in the US and Australia affect revenue in the short to medium term?
But it's not our status with reimbursement is progressing very well. We are working along to schedule to gain those reimbursement payments. However, we're not caught by surprise by our not having those complete reimbursement positions in Australia and the United States. So really, as a result, we don't see it as having a significant effect. However, it is worth pointing out that, for example, our Department of Veterans Affairs, our contract includes payment, so that's a fully paid fee, and we have a sticker price on our scans of $175. And being able to negotiate 99% of that as the fee, so $173 per scan, that's fully paid, fully reimbursed in that VA healthcare system, and that's a bigger healthcare system than all of Australia. Also, we do have the 76000 code, which allows us to share $300 between us and a hospital, allows them to take $125 for the X-ray imaging, $175 for us. Once again, for our procedure. So we do have reimbursement pathways that are there in place, and where we don't, we feel very comfortable about our ability to negotiate payment anyway.
Another question coming in from Paul, who says, is there an aim to use this technology potentially on other parts of the body?
Absolutely. So while we remain completely focused in the short term on using this technology to further lung health, we do see long-term opportunities to expand our product out from the lungs to the rest of the body. The most obvious pathway for that is to go to from start in the lungs, then do the lungs and the heart as well. And the clear pathway to that, once again, is our VQ product, which will measure blood flow in the heart, in the lungs. So our VQ product will measure both airflow in the lungs and blood flow in the lungs. From there, you can see there's a short step to measuring blood flow, for example, in the heart and the rest of the body. And in fact, heart and lungs combined represents 50%, about half of all diagnostic tests globally. So, already that represents a really significant opportunity there. But that won't be the end. We see opportunities in cancer, in a whole range of areas in healthcare. And we do see ourselves in the long term as being, the premier global diagnostic or healthcare information company in the planet.
Here's one that's just come in that's interesting. Can this technology be used to detect epidemics or pandemics at major ports? So thinking of airports and how else the technology could be deployed.
That is an exciting opportunity. And I think that, we know that, COVID-19 has not been the first, global respiratory pandemic, and unfortunately, it won't be the last. And 4DMedical, is excited about its opportunity to help the tens of millions of people around the world who have been infected with COVID and perhaps are still suffering with symptoms. But in particular, when you look at the types of platforms that we can layer our software on top of, we can layer our software on top of X-ray machines, and there are in fact millions, tens of millions of X-ray machines around the world. All of them could be a position from which we can do our scans. They take just a few moments to perform. In addition, as we bring out our XVD platform, on that XVD platform, that will be a hardware platform on which it takes 10 seconds to do a scan. And that really does open up those exact type opportunities. It's not much longer than it takes to do a security scan at an airport to see someone's lung health and if they're perhaps infected with an airborne disease. So I think there are some really significant opportunities there for us to help in the global health circumstance, and during this pandemic or perhaps the next, just some of those opportunities.
This is coming from David, who asks, when do you expect revenue to really start ramping up?
We expect we'll have some revenue this calendar year. So by December of this year, we will have converted some of our pilots into paying customers, so contracts in place, and the first dollar to have changed hands by around the end of this year. And then we expect to see that ramping up quite significantly to the 7-figure level in the remainder of this financial year and the start of next calendar year. And then we expect to see those numbers to continue to grow rapidly after that.
A follow-on from that from John is, are you fully funded now? So I suppose, are you expecting to do any capital raises in the short to medium term?
Yes, I mean, that's one of the great things about having $80.9 million in the bank is that it allows us to accelerate, to go really nice and fast, take the company forward, but at the same time to feel the confidence that we have the runway we need. We believe with the cash we have at hand, we can take this company from where we are today to being a break-even prospect. So, we don't see any immediate need to raise capital.
Brian asks, with your demonstration on hiatus hernia, will you be approaching gastroenterologists?
Anyone who is, one of the great things about, the FDA and matching clearance from the TGA in Australia is that if any doctor is interested in or needs more information about the lung health of their patients, then our technology is cleared and is ready to go. So any indication that impacts the lungs, if there is that interest, then 4DMedical is ready to help those doctors and their patients.
How are pilot outcomes and referrals communicated back to 4DMedical?
Part of our pilot agreement that we have, so in a pilot agreement, both parties are covering their costs. So 4DMedical isn't charging for the use of the technology, but neither are we being charged. So a part of that pilot agreement is that we may require the ability to go back during the pilot, and in particular as the pilot completes, to speak to doctors, to speak to the hospital, and indeed to communicate with patients. So you heard me giving some survey results before. That's exactly the type of information that we gather out of these pilots, where I was able to say that, doctors found 89% of scans are clinically useful, 100% of patients found their scans to be useful for their own treatment. That's exactly the information we gather as each pilot completes. And that's the same information we can then take to the hospital, pitch to the hospital and say that this is why you should convert from being a pilot to being a paying customer. But we can also take that data from one pilot site and take that to other potential sites without having, and potentially skip the pilot stage and go straight to sales at those other locations. So I think that's really a key part of that pilot program, and we absolutely do get that complete communication, and it's a real asset to the business as we proceed.
Just one more question, if we can squeeze it in, because we are having a few video problems, such as 2021. Yeah. But a question, has the 4D share registry moved much or changed much since the IPO?
It's changed surprisingly little. So, we have a great list of supporters. We have about 8,000 investors on the registry. However, there's been really very little movement of those investors who came on at the IPO. We have, really great, strong group of seed investors and also the institutional investors, many of whom have now been with us on 3 rounds back to back. And the rest have been, there for 1 or 2. Really great support from them, strongly behind the company, and really pleased to say that core group hasn't shifted very much at all. Great.
Well, Andreas, wonderful to hear from you and 4DMedical. Appreciate your time today.
My pleasure. Thanks, Nadine. Thank you.